Honorable Commissioner, Professor Omenugha, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen of the Governor's Media team, on behalf of all of us, I welcome the Honorable Commissioner for Basic Education, Amish. Honorable Commissioner, you must have noticed the lightheartedness with which I am conducting this, the affairs here. That's it's simply because the interaction we want to have with you, what you are meeting is the very friendliest of media practitioners. It's supposed to be a relaxed atmosphere where you feel free and very open to let us have insights into what your ministry is doing, have done, and are planning to do.
We usually start with our guests making opening remarks, which will serve as an introduction into the heart of the discourse. So at this stage, we'd like you to make an opening remark and then before we begin.
If you think of what is basic education, you look at it from primary school to 1 to 6 and JS 1 to 3. When I pointed it out to my governor, when he made me Commissioner for Basic Education, as far as I'm concerned, secondary school is also basic. And that's the people of His Excellency. You know, therefore, you are in charge of primary school, secondary school, private schools, technical colleges, adult and non-formal education, everything that is not higher education. So that's what we are doing here. Therefore, it's a very robust and vibrant ministry that is charged with grooming our children and many of our youths in areas not just academics but morals and all-rounded education. You see, so the mandate is quite huge because we are in the very formative years of the children, and if we don't get it right at this point, we'll hardly get it right again. Things like etiquette, the way they carry themselves, the way they walk, the way they talk, are things that you learn at this basic level. By the time you get to the university, you're already formed. And if you haven't learned that, which you should have learned at the basic level, then you will definitely have missed your mark. So the Ministry of Basic Education is quite a very vibrant one. For the public schools, you have well about 1,056 primary schools and 262 secondary schools, public secondary schools. You have well over 200,000 students in the private sector that comprise both the secondary education, the primary education, and the private schools are quite vibrant. They contribute equally to the people that we are. And this government doesn't actually make distinction between public and private. There are things to be given to the schools. His Excellency that we will make sure that the private sector is set. So that's the ministry that we run. We are in charge of curriculum development. We are in charge of the extracurricular, trying to give them things that they need to be well formed. We are in charge of their sports, feeding them because we have 3 domains in education. We have the cognitive, we have the psychomotor, we have the affective. So that's what we do. And I can tell you, it's not an easy task, but God is on our side, and especially because Chief Dr. Obiano came retired. He has a clearly defined blueprint of what he wants us to do in education, and that's what we have. We are running in education. Number 1, he says that we have a strategic objective 1, that the learning needs of all must be met through equitable distribution of resources and learning of lifelong skills and ensure we are one of the 3 top states with the lowest literacy rate. That is our strategic objective, and that is what we are running.
Thank you. You are one of the pioneers of this administration and one of the leading lights of this administration, one of the star performers of this administration, because education is a major pillar, of any nation. Now, as one of the earliest commissioners of this administration, and who found yourself in the educational sector, a sector that you have been a part of over almost for your entire career, you've been in that sector. Can you recall very vividly what situation you met on the ground when you assumed office as a commissioner for education? Because at the inception of this administration, that sector was not split in two. The ministry, we had only one ministry, which was the Ministry of Education, and you were superintending that ministry. So we would like to know the situation that you met on the ground, so that from there we'll begin to build on it, and by the end of this session, we would have known exactly what this administration has achieved in the educational sector. Thank you very much.
We met a ministry that the foundation has been laid, what's yet to be solidified. That's the way I want to describe it. For example, when we came in, we found out that the process has been started for training of teachers in ICT. Well, I won't call it training. Let me say the foundation has been laid for ICT in the state, but it has not hit the ground to start running. For example, the state already has some form of alliance with Microsoft to ensure that teachers have Microsoft certification. The former administration had already gotten about 1 million or whatever, I've forgotten the exact number, but a huge number of kind of vouchers for teachers to train themselves and get Microsoft certificated. But that didn't happen. Like, we are planning an e-conference for the first time, where we are going to discuss the post-COVID-19 education. And today I was looking actually at the graph I already have, that by 2013, there is this Microsoft vouchers procured by the government. By the time we came in 2014 and 2015, they were not being used. And we started the drive, because His Excellency Chief Dr. Obiano said, clearly written in his blueprint, that we must ensure that we instill ICT at all levels of our education. So by 2015-16, we have more than 40% of our teachers Microsoft certified. We brought up lots of policies of one teacher, one laptop. Started the idea that every head teacher and every principal must be knowledgeable enough in ICT so that they can help us to drive the process. We started the policy that if you want to go on, say, level 16 and we see that you're not ICT compliant, you will not get it. So we put in a lot of things that will drive the process. That is one. So ICT was that even though the previous administration had distributed laptops to schools, I'm afraid many of them were just parked there, not being used, because teachers had no clue what to do with those things. That's why I said the foundation has been laid, but not solidified. Again, you come to the issue of technical colleges. When we came in, then we had 11. We now have 12 technical colleges. So that's why the foundation is there. We have technical colleges, but none of them had any course that was fully accredited by the National Board for Technical College. In fact, it was only GTC Onitsha that this accreditation elapsed in 2013, and it wasn't renewed. Therefore, when His Excellency Chief Dr. Obiano came in, Remember what I told you about the strategic objective? The learning needs of all must be met through equitable distribution of resources and learning of lifelong skills, and ensure we are one of the 3 top states with the lowest illiteracy rates. It's a clear strategic objective. Therefore, he was very passionate about acquisition of skills, like one student, one skill, if you like. The 36 trade subjects that we started, His Excellency made sure, gave more laptops to schools, gave more laptops to even the private schools, got our technical colleges back in shape, what we call revamping of technical colleges. By the time we started work in technical colleges, we got about 23 of the courses fully accredited by the National Board for Technical Education. I tell you, that is a huge landmark. Because what it meant was that our names, our schools, became listed among the directory, in the directory of technical colleges in the state. They are still running because we kept on, directory of technical colleges in the country. So it's still running. By next year or a couple of years it might expire. So I'm hoping that we do more accreditation before we leave, so that any coming governor or whoever will have the colleges accredited. But because when we came in, none was accredited. It was a huge challenge. If you go about now to our technical colleges, what we are trying to do now is to ensure that we build about 750 capacity hostels for many of our technical colleges. If you go to Umueri, GTC Umueri, since almost completely has been roofed, go to Onitsha, go to Omenugha, go to Umuchu, go to Umunze. You will see what we are trying to do is all those areas that we have accredited courses, they specialize in some areas. For example, GTC Umueri is very good in welding and fabrication. And we have a situation whereby if you have a full hostel there, somebody can come from Umunze or Umuchu that is very good in block laying and brick molding, bricklaying and block molding. They can come there if they are interested in welding and fabrication to live in Umueri. So His Excellency also gave free tuition to those in NTC 1 to NTC 3 to encourage people to begin to get interested in using their hands in going to technical colleges. And we also try to find out where those our technical college students have gone to. We saw that many of them have established some businesses on their own. Some of them have gone to our institutions, and so on and so forth. We did that. And then we started partnerships with the private sector. For example, we started partnership with Innocy Motors, signed an MOU with Innocy Motors for our students to go there to have what we call hands-on experience about what it is to know about what the vehicle body loading maintenance. We signed that MOU. His Excellency was there at Innocent to sign that MOU himself. And many of our students who were doing vehicle body building maintenance as a course, we are going to Innocent to find out the hands-on experience. Most importantly, His Excellency exposed our technical college teachers to international global best practices. He took some of them, about 28 of them, to Singapore to learn the Singaporean model of technical and vocational education. And by the time they came back, you could see people who are energized to put in their best to make sure that the virtuous investment made in them is not in vain. So it has opened. So that's one area that we've done very well, and that we've actually shown that these students can, and our teachers can actually do better. We started what we call TWES. In fact, in the National Council on Education, it was this ministry that did a memo at the National Council for Education. National Council of Education is the highest policy-making body for education in Nigeria. We made that memorandum for TOS to be an approved thing that should be done in technical college. And it was approved. So this is the outcome of what Chief Dr. Obiano has done. TOS is Teachers Industrial Work Experience. Teachers, so that teachers themselves have opportunity to do in-house and in-course training with, for example, Don Bosco School at Obosi. We have that where they train our teachers to also obtain themselves in a whole lot of knowledge. Remember, the strategic objective of Chief Dr. Obiano said that no child is to be left behind. No child, absolutely no child is to be left behind. And we looked at what we met on ground about the special needs children. You know, well, something you would begin to imagine. We met these people as people who were forgotten by the society. In fact, it was Chief Dr. Mrs. Obiano that was actually, if you like, I don't know the right word, which was actually very aggressive about marketing and talking about them. She said, Honorable Commissioner, I'm not ever going to leave you until you do something about them. Especially if you go to our special education center at Isulo. That was the place she went to. If you ask His Excellency, he will always tell you that story, that by the time she went there and came back, she couldn't sleep. She woke up in the night and said, I was looking for these people all my life, and suddenly they're at my doorstep. She called me, Honorable Commissioner, you will do something about them. Of course, we went in there. By the time, if I have the opportunity, I'll show you the picture before and after. I have it there in my office, how that place was looking. It was a dungeon. You will not begin to imagine that people lived in that place. So we remodeled the whole place and gave them hostel, gave them teachers' quarters, and they set up a secondary school now there. The students there will be taking their first YF this year by the grace of God. Because what used to happen was that the children would do primary 6 and they kept repeating primary 6, they never would do anything. And let me tell you, I'm afraid that some of our parents are actually quite, I'm sorry to use the word, irresponsible. Because many of them will just abandon the children there, and it's the government that is actually caring for those children that are there. When His Excellency came on board, those children who were more than 100 and now up to 200 or 300, because people kept coming there now. Now, those children were only given as a monthly subvention 50,000 naira only. Indeed, if I see the email His Excellency sent to me, he said, Kate, this is criminal. He moved that from 50,000 naira a month to 500,000 naira a month for the children to be well taken care of. So that's an area we started. There was a time we did the World Disability Day. And we went there, His Excellency was there, the wife of the Deputy Governor was there, the Governor's wife was also there. And we did something that ability is ability. These children were able to do debates, those of them who could speak, you know. Those who, some of them were able to, even the MR, some of them were able to do a beauty contest. We sold clothes for them, did everything for them. It's part of the initiative that made His Excellency to actually bring a sign language people that will also take care of them. So we started bringing them. They have beautiful voices, they sing, they do a whole lot of things. So we brought vitality and revitalized the place, and we brought life back to the people.
The educational system and the structure we operate in the country doesn't actually seem to have any special attention, paid to the children in need. So can you elaborate a little more on what Anambra is doing for that particular segment of the population, those vulnerable people, children who have special needs? What are the basic things? What has been your approach?
Okay. One of the things His Excellency did was to give free tuition to all the physically challenged children in our schools, all of them. Even the public mission schools where we have inclusive children, for example, DMGS, CKC, PRC, St. John's, Oka here, St. John of God, Stella Mary Sumeri. These schools, even the mission know that they don't pay fees. They are inclusive. So one of the things the legislature did was to give free tuition to these children for them to make sure that they go to school. Another thing that we did was to involve them in all our activities, to encourage them to find their ability, you know. And then we've done for 2 or 3 times now a kind of campaign for them, what we call boot camp for these people. So that during the holiday, long vac especially, we bring them. Remember I told you, many times you find that their parents hardly come for them. So we've done that 2 times at Mbaku now, where we took them to that youth center for 2 weeks. We trained them in a whole lot of things. They will make beads, they will make clothes, they do painting, they do photography, they do, you know, organ, a whole lot of things. And we'll keep them busy with every kind of attention, and they're there helping their skills. And so one of the things we've done is to make sure that we have in these schools this, the particular skills that they learn, you know, which is important. That which can also give them some form of leverage, you know, when they go out in the world. And this is actually a very strategic and deliberate action. It's not haphazard. It's something that we've tried to do to make sure that we pay them. And then we do exhibition. Sometimes, you know, we do a day with them where they exhibit the things, a kind of open day, bring people to patronize them and see and encourage them, dance with them, do a whole lot of things. I mean, it's fun actually being with them because they will appreciate it and they will be happy that we will do. So it's nothing haphazard. It's something that is deliberate, something that is, you know, strategic and well planned. For some of them in the university that have one challenge or the other, one of the criteria we have for the award of scholarship is being physically challenged. You know, so the amount, I don't have the exact figure, but when we look at the more than 300 or something people that have received scholarship, you know, we have a lot of physically challenged people. As at the last count, we have about 350 that have benefited. Mostly they are people who have lost their parents. For example, I know the staff of Anambra University that you know, the wife died before the man died. So the children lost we are still paying for their fees in the university. You know, we know the one I think from Omenugha where the parents had an accident. We pick them up. We know those people from Agazinu. Movie that, you know, we have the Boko Haram people from Kanu or wherever. You know, mostly these people we pick them up. The one that the fire burnt the whole family and then only one girl. I mean, that one was done down here where we did I think Workers' Day or something. The one in front of here we use opportunity to give check. We have people also who have excelled in the examinations, who also receive our certificate, like the children that had the best NECO, that's national examination candidates, they receive prize. The people that scored did very well in competition, we also give them prizes.
I want to touch on one point, remuneration. One of the challenges that this administration met on ground was the issue of teachers in hard-to-reach areas. I know there's a policy of this administration, just like you had in the health sector, paying a certain percentage of salaries to encourage teachers in special subjects, legal, sciences, and all that, especially those in hard-to-reach areas. Could you confirm that this policy is still in place, and to what extent, given the fact that you've been in this sector, how has it impacted the development of education in Anambra State?
For more than 6 years, we ran this policy. The policy of 2014, the policy that teachers in the hard-to-reach areas will be given 20% of their basic salary, including, of course, their salary, you know, so 20% of their salary as incentive. At the moment, what we are doing is that we are reworking the remuneration in terms of the areas that will be included. I'm sure in the very near future, we're going to conclude that. For example, we started by the certain local government areas. But now we saw, for example, if we say Oka North, for example, to give you an example, was one of the local government areas that we are receiving this benefit. And that means Amasi here is also receiving. So, and Amasi is not hard to reach. So what we are doing now is to remove those ones that, if you just lump everybody as the local government areas. For example, Nnewi South was not included in the people that will receive. But we know that if you go to Api Head, there are certain areas in those areas that need that incentive. So what we are doing now is to, kind of review and bring about the policy is still in place, so that we make sure that the very remote people, number one, we know that all the riverine areas will get, and then we want to begin to disaggregate the other ones to get actually the towns that will actually be. If you go to community secondary school or Rugu, you will see that it's so difficult to get there. So people that are placed there should at least get a little incentive, rather than do it as someone that Amasi then we begin to get. So that's what we are trying to do, but the policy is very much in place. And of course, people, the science and allowance people who teach special, I don't want to call it special project, but core subjects maybe also get their incentive. It has actually helped us in reducing the attrition of teachers in those areas, and it has helped us to retain our teachers in those areas. So it's a policy that we are sustaining.
We have won a lot of laurels, like you mentioned when you were giving your opening remarks, and a lot of recognitions for our students. The one that readily comes to mind is the Technovation Girls, and they won gold and defeated the world and made us proud. Now I'm concerned about them and many others, how we are following up these students, especially in this era where most of our people, intelligent people, it is more or less like the Western world takes them once they are able to give back to the society. How are we following these people up to make sure that we harness their knowledge, intelligence, and make the most of it here in Anambra State? Secondly, we started the on-air program ahead of many other states in Nigeria. But one is reaching people in some areas. How sensitized are the students who are supposed to be partaking in that? How well are we covering the school curriculum? Is there any provision for continuous assessment and a whole lot of other things?
Chief Dr. Omenugha looks at the education from three major areas. Talks about infrastructure, talks about teachers' welfare, talks about students' welfare. And the students, rank very highly, in his priority. Yes, we have won lots of laurels. He said that he will give Anambra education that is globally competitive. That's what Chief Dr. Omenugha says all the time. And I can assure you that he has made that global competitiveness. If, for example, our students, Regina Pache girls, who go to Silicon Valley and they win laurel, I remember how they sent it to me on WhatsApp. We won gold. That was how they said it when they were coming. We won, and I called them. I forwarded it to them. He said, we won gold. You could see the confidence with which they said that. If we could go to global ball debate in Indonesia, and in the preliminary debate, we won at that preliminary debate. We didn't come to the first or second or third, but we won at that preliminary. We beat Barbados. It shows that we have global competitiveness. If we could go to Singapore and participate in the world debate, and we came tops in the cultural aspect, it shows we have global competitiveness. You see, His Excellency Dr. Obiano has made Umuakwụkwọ Anambra, we have demystified whiteness for them. We have made them to believe in themselves and whom they are. How did we do that? In the first retreat that Chief Dr. Obiano in 2014 had with his political appointees, ESCO members, SAs, everybody, we developed what we called the 10 shared values. You know, I'm always proud to talk about 10 shared values, because that is something that what was brought up by this administration to begin to build the confidence of Umuakwụkwọ Anambra, to begin to change their psyche, you know, about who they are and what they can do, to begin to make them believe in their capacities and capabilities, to make a positive impact on everyone I meet and everywhere I go, to be a solution provider and not a part of the problem to be solved, to be a role model worthy of emulation, to be my best in all I do, particularly, and so on and so forth. And in the Lawrence, we ask them to make my family, my state, my nation, and my God proud. So help me God. Because education is about ideology. It is what you believe in that you profess and what you profess that you do. We have our mantra all over. We say, nothing is impossible. I do not accept failure. Yes, you can. Ask an Anambra child, he will tell you that. And what we do is to get it into the brain of every Anambra child that nothing, absolutely nothing is impossible, that they can do spirit. And therefore, each time we take them to go for laurels, we say, no, you have to be the best you are, particularly the things you are naturally good at. You have to value time and make the best of it. To consciously build a great legacy starting now, today, and every day. To live a life of integrity and honor, and to make my family, my state, my nation, and my God proud. So help me God. It has worked like magic. It has worked like magic. I remember when these deprivation children were brought, when they were, His Excellency sponsored them to go to US for the competition, I brought them to ESCO chambers. The governor told them, you can win. You go there and bring the laurel and see what I can do. And of course, they went and brought the laurels. And what did he do? But I tell you, we have in trust for them with the Catholic Archdiocese of Onitsha, their fees up to university level. 6 years in university from the but they are SS2, SS2, SS3, and the university. 6 years of university. We have all the monies put in trust for them and with the Catholic Archdiocese. So we follow up. We know them. They are our stars. They are our role models. You know? So these are the issues. So we are cautious. And let me tell you what else Chief Dr. Obiano has done. No child is to be left behind. It was a suggestion I made to him at ESCO. And the ESCO members approved that we do that. We have children who have potentials, but they lack the money to be trained. We picked 5 local government areas. We picked Anambra East, Anambra West, Obaru, Oka North, and Ayamelo. And then we picked 100 children from there. 100. About 55 and 45, 45 females, 45 males. We picked them and we gave them full scholarship. Full. When I say full, full. Like all their personal effects were bought by this administration. All of them. And we put them in the boarding schools of all our good, boarding schools in the state. The argument was simple. There are 2 things that make a human being: nature and nurture. They have natural endowments, but we need to take them from that environment to put them where we can mold them into the kind of people they can become. And this administration has given 100 indigent, brilliant but indigent students full scholarship. We put them from JS, we put about, I think 50-50, JS1 that will take them to primary, to SS3, and then SS1, some of them SS1 that will take them to SS3. The idea is that by the time this administration leaves, we must have brought out like 40 people who are out of secondary school. But what His Excellency has promised me, which I know he's going to do, by the way, is that we are going to set up, an endowment for them clearly that will take them to university. And that's what, it's very interesting, because unless you begin to understand the grooming of these children, I am the person that is deeply involved in the grooming, and you see the changes in them, and you remember in some of those areas, girls marry as young as 10 years, 11 years, they are married. I could see them, because we assigned mentors to them. I will go to KRC, for example, sit with my girls, I'll be teaching them a whole lot of things, and you see what they say, Mommy, I must succeed in life, I must succeed in life. You could see the passion. Each time you visit them, you see an improvement in the way they behave. And eventually, I know we'll see them through. I'm talking about Nyabosa's question, how do we follow the children? So we have a desk officer who is in charge of this. But like now that we're no longer in school, we call them, to encourage them so that they don't fall by wayside. We've gotten some donated by Rotary, donated some radio sets to us, and we are picking some of those children to help them so that they can listen to our on-air program. And talking about the on-air program with ITGAPS, well, let me tell you that on-air, the teaching on air, is one of the biggest things we have done in education. I talk in perspective of being a communicator, and perhaps because I'm a communicator, perhaps that's why we were able to fill in the gap. Remember, schools were shut down March 24th. April 1, we started teaching on the air, the first in the country. And we've received a lot of accolades from the Federal Ministry for that singular feat. And always, I will thank ABS MD, for taking the bull by the horn. Thank my teachers for being so proactive and rising up to the challenge. And every one of us in the education family who have worked to see that thing is going on. See what you have done. Now, I told myself when schools were shut down, from our experience, we know that accessibility, radio you have more people accessing radio. And that's why we started that teaching on air. And the ABS added a swag to it by streaming live and getting people in Facebook, in YouTube, every kind of platform to make sure that is happening. But let me tell you, we are aware that some people are left by the side. Especially, I call them people beyond the end of the road. What has happened to them? That's what I call them. And I got to that. Some people have been writing in their Facebook, why is Anambra possessing 3,000 radio sets? This is a cake. And I look at them and say, they have no clue what they are talking about. It's not only Nigeria and Anambra State that has challenges. Even in the so-called developed countries, they have their challenges everywhere about what they are going to do. Because it's not everybody that has the money for data, or everybody that has no matter how worthy you think you are, there are some challenges here and there. So we are aware that we have challenges of people beyond the end of the road. And we got His Excellency to say, I got the education secretaries and said, please, I want you to share with me the clusters you have in your very local area, so that we can get radios. If you go to Oka North, for example, the education secretary was wonderful, because she would be sending us pictures of children in the square, listening to the radio, and having one of our, the people we call education ambassadors, with them to ensure that they are listening and taking notes. The pictures are there, they were sending the pictures to us. And we said, we need to get more radios. And we expanded, other than the 5 areas I was talking about. We brought in Orumba North, we brought in Orumba South, we brought in Nnewi South, we brought Ihiala in. So about 9 of them now are those areas we consider that have very remote areas. And His Excellency has approved to get the radio sets and get the children to listen. We have employed the services of Obiano, the special advisor to the governor on public orientation and special duties. She has been going round, with our posters. She goes round with her team for aggressive marketing and sensitization about our teaching on air, about the COVID-19 protocol, about the expectation we have of parents in preparing the children for resumption of schools. That's her mandate. And that's what she's been doing. We have the posters, we have her talking to the churches, talking to the marketplaces, and so on and so forth. We have in our database the phone numbers of over 46,000 students that registered for WAEC examination. So we sent bulk messages to all of them, telling them about that teaching on air, so that they key in and begin to listen to what we are doing. And let me tell you, Benza, they've come to assess Anambra, and I can tell you they were very happy with what they saw. We have our MOU with ABS ready. We have our evidence of timetable. We have evidence of mobilization. We did this long before they came to begin to say that they want to see what we are doing. So we have, and most importantly, August 1, we are doing our e-conference. I'm inviting everybody to our e-conference. I've sent the link to James. I'm sure that he will distribute it to every journalist around. I will send the link to you too, so that you can register. What are we doing? We are bringing education stakeholders together. We are bringing the public together. We are bringing the communities together. We are bringing the presidents generals and the communities, everybody together. We are bringing the international community, UNICEF, UNESCO, everybody together. What are we talking about? Post-COVID education in Anambra State. How do we lay the foundation for what you call the new normal? Because you don't have any answers to these things. COVID-19 hit everybody, suddenly. And suddenly we had no answer. So if you talk about gaps, yes, there are gaps. Because we should have had that in place, a squarely placed ICT. But I tell you, we are sure that we are far above others, where we are now. We have teachers who are willing to use technology to drive education. We have teachers who have risen to the responses and trying their best to ensure that we are not left behind. Therefore, what we are doing is that we are sharing experiences during that e-conference. Because I introduced my teachers to the T4, where about 600,000 teachers came together in a global conference to discuss about COVID-19. There are 4 things we have said. You need collaboration, collaboration. You need technology. You need to think about teachers' welfare. You need to think about leadership. How are we going to ensure that the children beyond the end of the road are not left out? Therefore, we came up with 4 sub-themes, which we are expecting people to contribute. Because when you have contributed, we do a communique and bring out. And one of the things we want to do is to launch what we call one student, one laptop, or one Android phone. We want to call on public spirited individuals, because it's no longer the government that you can leave alone. The government alone cannot do this. Our people will have to begin to realize that they need to invest in education. I remember a cartoon I saw. A child said, they told us not to come to school with phone. Now they have put school into phone.
I know that a basic theory in education says that for learning to take place, the learning situation should be stimulating and challenging. Some of our school buildings require rehabilitation, particularly the public schools. I know that the mission schools have been trying with the grants they have been getting from the state government. But for the public schools, do you have a current program for innovation and rehabilitation? And given the limitations of government in terms of funds, are you thinking of a kind of collaboration with the private sector to see that these school buildings are kept in the good standards?
I told you that Chief Dr. Omenugha looks at education from 3 major areas. We talked about infrastructure as number one. We talk about students' welfare, we talk about teachers' welfare. Infrastructure does not just mean the building, it also includes the state-of-the-art equipment in those buildings. You will have to appreciate that the level of decay in infrastructure is not something that just started within the period of Dr. Willoughby or this administration. It's been a long period of neglect caused by a whole lot of factors. We have done massive renovations in some of our schools. The ones, there is no local government area that hasn't benefited something from the renovation or from the new construction. I will give you some examples. The ones that, by the way, we built 10 classroom blocks, or 10-room classroom blocks, as in 10 classrooms in a building. How would you say that? If you go to GTC Onitsha, you see that. If you also go to Umuchu, you also see that. If you go to Bo, you see that, and so on and so forth. These are the ones that were described as new construction. So you have a lot of new constructions littered here and there. If you go to Ojoto, you also see the one that are built, and so many of them. The point I'm making is that every local government area must have some that are being done. That is one. What His Excellency also has done is that he has acquired new schools. If you know, some of our people, you know about the 20 million naira project, which the Ministry of Local Government can explain further. But some of our communities use the money to build schools. Some of them never had secondary schools all their life. And with that money, if you go to Owele, for example, Owele is one of the areas, Anambra West, that use the money to build their school. If you go to Enugu Aguleri, the government also acquired that because they use the money to build that. If you go to where? Obeze. If you go to Obeze, yes, you will see that also. If you go to another area that the government has also acquired new schools is what do you call the Opo, yes, the Unity School Opo, and the one at Oruba there. Thank you very much. And so you see, infrastructure is these are schools. For example, Omenugha said there's something they did say about Governor Obiano. Because all the years that they existed, they've never had secondary school. So this is all part of infrastructure, something we are doing. And this administration has given to the public school about 65 well-equipped laboratories in our secondary schools, designed using Anambra State model, Anambra State core, to give them those school laboratories. So that is also about infrastructure. So the point we keep making is that, and then there are lots of the Anambra that have also contributed to education in so many ways. In fact, the one that will be happening now, if you go to Akweze, on the 7th of August, a philanthropist at Akweze has turned that school into something we didn't begin to imagine. He's from Akweze, I think as still Chief Ikendo Okafo. He's from Akweze, and he's turning that school into an unimaginable land of beauty. That is what public sector, private sector can also do, individuals. I know that if you go to Sofia, Professor Soludo also adopted a school in the primary school in Sofia, turned the place into a small London, paying all the fees for the children, employing more teachers than they will ever need, putting them in competition, putting solar, everything for them, because he wants to raise the children into the world class. This is what a private group can also do. If you go to Nigeria Science and Technical College, you see the Oris people trying to, build more facilities for them in that school, and we have them. If not because of this COVID, we would have done by now what we call a day with His Excellency. We wanted to appreciate all the people who have contributed in one way or the other to us in the education sector, and the COVID-19 has delayed it, but we're hoping that by next year we still do that, where we bring together people that have helped us in education to appreciate them. At least have a day with His Excellency and thank them for what they have done.
And now, I follow you every day and you talk about wholesome education. Are you worried that COVID-19 has stolen that from us? The times when children could be in school, it's not just curricula, we had extracurricular, and then we had sports, and then we had skills development as well. Are we able to bridge that gap now? And secondly, given that the federal government has hinted that schools will resume on the 4th of August, I know we are party to that agreement. Anambra State, you hinted that you'll be going for a meeting. Are we ready to resume?
Of course, COVID-19 has come with a lot of disruptions. But what I tell students is that this is the time for them to even be more creative. There are so many changes. When we talk about new normal, we are talking about the blended learning, the blended teaching, the blended education, where we no longer have merely face-to-face, like we have now. There has to be a lot of technology involved in what we are doing. This is the opportunity for the students to know that it cannot be the business as usual. This is the opportunity for them to know that the time is past when they have to depend on the teacher alone to learn. This is the time for them to explore. You now have what you call flipped classroom, where the classroom will now be you, the student, learning, and then having some interactions later with your teacher. This is flipped classroom. You see, we have to realize that we might need to depend more on project-based learning. And project, now we are about to take WAEC, we'll come to that at the moment. By now, the students with all the things they have been doing, both on teaching and what some of my teachers have been doing, using voice notes and the WhatsApp to teach the students over time, they form themselves into WhatsApp groups with the class teacher as the administrator, and all the students there, those of them who have access to phones, and they use voice notes to teach them. They make a timetable, and every teacher will teach and send notes, and the teachers will copy. It is an opportunity for the children to know that it cannot be business as usual. Things have changed. Disruption has happened. Well, let me tell you, in times of disruption, that is when new things are created and born. And that is why, if you go to St. John's Science and Technical College along, they were able to produce foot, pedal, hand washing equipment. If what's the name? The Archbishop Piri Technical School Ogidi was able to produce, with the help of their partners, a walk-through machine that can sanitize the whole body. Nigerian Science and Technical College on Nnewi now produce hand sanitizers, WHO approved, and so on and so forth. This is the creation of our students, because they know, that so many of them know that it cannot be business as usual. So, has COVID-19 actually affected what you call wholesome education? I don't think it has, because what it has done, it has created new ways in which we can do these things. For example, we are doing e-conference. We are planning to do our debate online, e-debate, online, because the government's debate must hold. It must hold, and we have to do it. We came into areas where children showcase the music, everything they were able to do, and they showcase it to us. And they were able to do these things using some online platform before they came to showcase it to the ABS, and so on and so forth. This is the time for creativity. This is the time for the children to know that they need to think and they be creative in what they are doing. And then about school resumption, the message there was very clear. The exit classes will have to resume, but states can now prioritize how they want to do that. But WAEC must have to take place from 17th of August. And all the education commissioners in the country agreed that they will join, because Ghana has started their WAEC, and they've started with the preliminary papers, all those papers that are particular to them. But from 17th of August, all the papers that are general to the countries, West African countries taking WAEC, will start. So it's either Nigeria joins or they wait in November with its attendant financial consequences and everything. So we all said no, let's join that of August. August 17th. That means we need to resume school at least 2 weeks to the time, say by after the summer holiday, maybe 3rd or 4th, but for August, we should go back to school to prepare the children for the WAEC exams. So what we have done, we have earlier sent on to them using the Google app, what we call resumption of school readiness. You know, for the schools to fill in their COVID-19 protocol stuff, that whether they are ready. And let me tell you, 95% of the schools said they were ready. You know, because they have in place the hand washing stuff, they have in place the infrared thermometers, they have done their spacing in the classrooms, and since we are thinking of the WAEC people coming in, and maybe later the junior WAEC will come in, and the primary 6, they will have problem of space, because as it is now, there will be enough space for the real spacing out that we are going to do. Today we brought in the WAEC controller in Anambra State to join us in the meeting, and he told us that they are ready, but they are waiting for Lagos to advise them on what they are going to do about the big schools that will probably need more than one supervisor. And that's where we are. So I think we are ready to resume, and actually His Excellency Adila Sesko has requested that we should resume, you know, if we think that we are ready. And we are following up with validating the form that they have filled to ensure that they are actually ready, that our children and our teachers are not going to be in any problem.
What is the government doing to encourage such? I want to give an instance with Obiano, where I schooled. Before the mission took it over, it was in very bad state. But then mission acquired it, as it were. And then if you go there now, you see that it's a lot different from what it was when it was a public school, as it were. So what, if we have seen this result, what is government doing to make the missions adopt schools, like you talked of public-private partnership? You know, because this one looks very effective to us. Thank you.
One of the best things that has happened in education is the State Mission Alliance. It has its challenges, no doubt, but the good aspects are there. And I'm very cautious about making, you know, what I've asked the civil society to do. I asked them, 10 years, 11 years, 12 years into this alliance, people should have gone independently to assess and bring that report to us. I cannot, as a commissioner, just stand up and say it. It's like, you know, somebody blowing his or her trumpet. If independent people have gone ahead to see what has happened with this alliance, and what the government has also invested in the mission schools. Recall, we are going to the other time they were giving how much, almost 733 million for some of this infrastructural development, and they were giving the check. And I understand, you know, of course we know that the previous years they've been giving that small grants like that, and of course they've added their monies and done a whole lot of things to make sure that things are working. And equally, like the vendor you are talking about, which also, you know, I'm also an old boy, you know that. So the vendor and the others who go to Lorito, go to KRC, go to all DMDs, go to all these schools, they are our pride. You know, I'm not holding brief for the government here, but I think that what should happen is that there should be another phase of that alliance. And if that phase happens, I'm sure everybody will benefit more from it.
My first question stems from what you talked about, private government partnership, adoption of schools. Are you saying it's open for private people to come in? Then, secondly, in view of the COVID-19 pandemic, how do we adapt the curriculum, you know, into the technologies that our kids are using? And then thirdly, flexibility of time. how do we change policy to support more flexible time? You know that because of the COVID-19, it may not be business as usual, as per time of schools and all that. How do we bring all these things together?
The last one said about flexibility of time. We'll cross the bridge when we come there. We are talking about phased opening. We are talking about the exit class now, doing the exam so that they can exit. We don't know yet what will happen. I am aware, very much aware, that a lot of schools, both public and private, have tried in their own form to teach the much they can. I'm also aware that we advise, especially the primary schools, to advise parents to come during the weekday, collect assignments for the children, go back and return the following week and things like that. I'm also aware that there are some who are very serious, especially the Ivy schools, that are actually very serious with their online learning. Because for them, the children, all of them, they are elitists from elitist homes. All of them have iPads and phones and whatever, and they could follow them and join them in class. I'm very much aware that some people are left on the west side. So these are the challenges of COVID-19 pandemic on education, and this is also part of what we are discussing in our e-conference on 1st of August. I said people do not have all the answers. People are welcome to join us and suggest what they think. If you think as Honorable Commissioner, I will have all the answers, that's not right. We are talking about collaboration. If you have ideas, because sometimes when you give assignments, for example, you find out that you have given assignment to a child that has illiterate parents. They may not even, and who are busy looking for water for getting, rather than to think of what the child will do. I mean, it's a very complicated kind of situation. So I'm aware too that we are thinking of phased learning, talking about time management. If we are thinking about, if for example we are to open all these classes at the same time, there's no way, given the kind of infrastructure we have all over Nigeria, not just in Anambra State, where you see more than 40 or 50 people being in one class. If you do the 2 meter spacing, you will see that you may have only 15 in that class or 20, and others will speed up. So we have challenges. So we have said it's possible that we may consider some coming from 8 to 12 and going home. The others come from 12:30 to 4:30. So they, like, instead of 7 hours or 8 hours a day, they spend 4 hours in school. And that's what I talked about, blended learning or blended teaching. Because technology must continue. And that's why we advise teachers to be technology savvy. Because I keep saying it, technology may not replace teachers, but teachers who use technology will definitely replace those who do not. You see? So that's why we're encouraging everybody to see a way you can support teachers to make sure that they get ICT compliant.
Honorable Commissioner, for teachers, to learn how to use laptops, do you feel vindicated in,
I honestly feel vindicated.
Oh, yeah.
I feel vindicated because then if the press people who are there, people were like, what does she think she's doing, blah, 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 we've been vindicated. And actually I was driving His Excellency's policy. He said by 2015, every teacher will have a laptop. Every child must have a laptop. Suppose we had gotten the kind of support we needed at that point. By now, in fact, I got a letter from Microsoft, 2 wrote a letter or something. You see, you have been vindicated. All this you were shouting about, and people thought...
from Microsoft?
Yes. People thought that you were crazy. Now you've been vindicated. So I feel vindicated really, but we still have time. We can retrace our steps and support to see that technology is moving. So that's about time management that you talked about. What's the other one you said?
Curriculum on the technology.
Curriculum?
How we can adopt the
Okay, the curriculum. Yeah, okay, it's training. It's pedagogy. Training. We've suggested some training again. Some of you are journalists, so you heard when you were saying, oh, Commissioner is asking them to pay social amounts for training. I mean, it's all over. And I said, I advise you, the letter is quite clear. I advise them to key in and learn those steps in technology. How they can use technology to do training. And we've gotten some people, for example, my House Committee Chairman on Education who want to sponsor for some people to do the training. Teachers must have to invest in themselves. Government must have to invest in teachers. People must have to invest in teachers. Because there is no way the standard of education, the standard of what the children know will be higher than the standard of what the teachers know. Every society gets the kind of education they deserve. And everything depends on the investment we make on teachers. So that's why if you think about how you're going to infuse, technology into the curriculum or curriculum into technology or whatever. Let me tell you, before we trained over 10,000 teachers last year in ICT. Again, it was, what you do? If I begin to share my experiences, she can find it in my laptop, where the teachers were commenting and said they've never seen a thing like this. And we trained 10,000 teachers. Insisted. I told them this thing must happen, and it happened. And now, many of them, that's what is giving them leverage to do the things they are doing. And when we trained them, Zynos Eke came to the closing ceremony. He said he could not believe that a woman who had never touched computer the last 2 weeks, who went through this training, stood up and was talking computer language. He gave the teacher a laptop as a present. He couldn't believe it. He said, he came and said, did you document that thing you did? That's what I want to share to the whole world, what people can do, just if they have the kind of drive that this state administration has. You see? So it's on training, capacity building training. We can teach them, for example, how you can go to Los Angeles and see all the wild animals and zoo and everything there without moving an inch, and the children will be seeing it. You can see how you can share cultures. Go to India and show cultures to the children. They don't need to move anywhere to see it. That's technology. And that's what we'll be saying. So it's important that we understand that to fuse technology or to fuse curriculum, whichever, provided there is some fusing going on. to fuse whatever you want to fuse, teachers must have to know how to do it.
How do we allay this fear? And people ask me this question, not just one person, not even two. When that lady or that girl won, the mother Fokwa won the best result, I think in WAEC or something. Or JAMB, okay. The girl is from Anambra State, but she didn't do her secondary school in Anambra State. So when we began to celebrate the girl, somebody called my attention and said, why do you people celebrate this girl this much? That we could have reached out to this girl without recourse to publicity. His argument is this, that next time around, because perhaps she did her secondary school in the West or Lagos, that a certain Tinubu, that's why I call it politics, can influence what happens in WAEC and make sure that no Anambra person gets that, even if she makes the best result, or even if maybe he's a man this time around. So that we begin to look in that direction, that if we begin to celebrate this, say Anambra does this, Anambra does this, that somebody out there will say, okay, next time, they will influence everything and make sure that nobody gets it from this state. So how do we consider that? That is very important that we think through such things, that we don't just begin to, that we have to think behind, I don't know how to put it, but we don't always believe that things will happen the way they should. That this will have opened the eyes of Lagosians or even people from the West or the Yorubas and all that. So how do we begin to look at that too?
Unless we do not understand what the encouragement that Chief Dr. Obiano has given to so many people that have stirred up, that they are, if they know, for example, that they are going to be recognized by their state, even if they are not studying in the state, that our shared values to make my family, my state, my nation, and my God proud is out there. And that can spur any child anywhere to do well. I know people who call me from abroad to tell me how well they are doing in the school. If not, let's talk about just the speaker, the former speaker who called me that the son studied this in Ireland, and he made first class. They know that there is something the government is doing. They want to excel no matter where they are. That's the spirit of Anambra. If we begin to look at our emblem and know what Anambra State, that resoluteness in an Anambra person, that all those things, that will signify all those beautiful environment that you have. Look at the ivory, look at the coins, look at all those things that tell you things about Anambra. There is that Anambra spirit. There is that thing to be the light of the nation anywhere you are. If I walk into the Federal Ministry of Education, you'll be hearing Light of the Nation Commissioner. Light of the Nation Commissioner. That's what and it grows everywhere we go. And because we have a governor who recognizes excellence wherever it is, irrespective of scholarship here and there, but people that is training can find more can appear. Pilots and all those things. Many of the children came from Lagos, came from Abuja, they all came because they have a governor who understands and respects excellence and who wants excellence. A governor that is actually the very light of the nation. So don't worry about that. And if we say that somebody can influence it and make Anambra, you can put a light and there will be a fire. And that also shows that we may not have faith in the education system. Nobody can stop us from excelling, where we should excel.
We approve schools that establish, but we find that they are in one building, only just a building. There are no sporting infrastructure in such one room or one building in a block. So, do we still approve schools that do not have such infrastructure?
I can assure you that schools who are in one room must be legal schools, and schools that are not approved. I can assure you that over 1,000 Bibles, that's the truth. There are too many unapproved schools. People close it down, by that you get practice. We've given a list last time of 1,901 schools that we've told them by September, but then it's the enforcement. We've given their list, we need to enforce to make sure that they remain closed. They have them. And now what we do about field is that there are schools that will be in a place that we don't have field, but we allow them to partner with another school that has an open field, get a letter of affiliation from them, and that's where they go to do their inter-house sports and everything. That is how we give them the opportunity. Because you might have a very good school in a story or two-story building with all the facilities there, but there are places that are built up, and you won't have that kind of space that you need. And we allow them to get a school that has field and affiliate with them to use that for their sporting facilities. And let me tell you, there is no school that children will, except parents that are selling, the children will stay there and they don't have to exercise themselves. Hardly.
So, Mommy, please tell the governor, that we appreciate him and that we won't stop supporting the good work he's doing across sectors in Anambra State. And we appreciate you for always jumping on new things. I told somebody that she has the mind of a 15-year-old. If I'm awful, or see, how do we do this? That's who she is. And sometimes I'm like, how does she keep her mind this young? We pray to be like you. And we hope that the more you keep talking to us, that we'll be better and better at being innovative in the Anambra, just like our governor would want all of us to be. Dalu, we appreciate you.